Right then guys, it's PSL here for the third and final episode covering the Sprint Championship on F1 2018. You can see the current Drivers' Championship standings on screen with Daniel Ricciardo and Esteban Ocon, the two race winners from the previous episode, the top two in the Drivers' Championship. It almost seems like the more recently you won a Grand Prix or the more recently you got your decent finish, the further up you are in the Drivers' Championship. Anyway, here we are for the Singapore Grand Prix. Good old patch 1.06, messing the opening cutscene up. So hopefully, any second now, there you go, this is more normal and what you would expect. However, having said that, this is the Singapore Grand Prix, but in daytime. A daytime Singapore Grand Prix, so this is certainly different. Never mind the fact it's a 5-lap race with the starting grids being a reverse of the Drivers' Championship, and the Drivers' Championship is already wildly different to what you would expect anyway. So the starting grid, Lance Stroll on pole position, Fernando Alonso in second, and then it's Gasly, Sebastian Vettel in fourth, still yet to get a decent finish. Well, since Belgium at least. Sirotkin, Verstappen, Bottas in 9th, so he's in the top half of the field. I'm in 13th place, just ahead of Sergio Perez. I can't seem to get away from the guy. Me and Perez, this championship, have been near inseparable. So I've got yet another battle to look forward to with Sergio Perez. Yes, the setup. 8-9 wings, I'm not sure how much of a normal setup that is. I didn't realise until I started the Grand Prix that I didn't have a Singapore setup, so I just got my Monaco setup and modified it. However, keep that in mind because I found out recently that the AI run 6 wings. So just keep that in mind, and the Singapore Grand Prix is underway. And once again, another not ideal start for me. There is Sergio Perez. Once again, me and him will be battling in a Grand Prix. Perez, though, I think has actually got one over on me. And we've got to be careful here with Sergio Perez. Luckily, I haven't been punted into the wall, and I've re-overtaken Sergio Perez to get up into 13th place. I've still got to try and find a way past Charles Leclerc, Nico Hülkenberg, and down the highest speed section of the track. I've also got to watch out for Sergio Perez, but nope, he hasn't made a move. And in fact, actually, look in the top left, Lewis Hamilton is the driver directly behind me, so I'm going to try and put someone in between myself and Lewis Hamilton. It's Nico Hülkenberg, who I'm desperately trying to pass. Even if you ignore Lewis Hamilton, I've still got 3 cars to overtake before I score a point. But still, Nico Hülkenberg I cannot find a way past. We've done about half a lap, there's only 4.5 left to go. Still trying to find a way past Nico Hülkenberg. Reasonably decent exit, but Hülkenberg, he's got to leave me some space, he's got to. Dangerously close to the Onco barriers, late on the brakes, and finally I have made an overtake on Nico Hülkenberg. I'm still only in 12th place, that's 2 places away from the points positions. Pierre Gasly, around this circuit, starting in a fantastic position. However, I think before the run down towards the first corner, he already lost the place to Vettel. That move was done before the first corner, because you can't turn into someone. Pierre Gasly couldn't turn into Vettel once he was there. And that is Vettel side by side with Fernando Alonso. Sebastian Vettel just hoping to get some luck. Really, in the Belgian Grand Prix, he did well with the randomised grid, but aside from that, Vettel has yet to really do especially well in this championship. But he's up to second, passing Fernando Alonso. He's just got 1 car separating himself from the race lead. So another look at the race start. Sebastian Vettel is the driver we're focusing on. And yep, Pierre Gasly just couldn't really defend from Vettel at that point. Vettel was there, and without doing significant damage, but damage is off in this championship, annoyingly. I should point that out once again. Damage is off in this championship. Nothing I can do to change that. And Sebastian Vettel, Pierre Gasly did close up to him actually. Pierre Gasly wasn't giving up without a fight, but Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari, there's very, very few drivers who can best him. One of those, arguably, is Valtteri Bottas. Certainly, he's got the car for the job, but he is starting much further down the grid on this particular occasion. And that's a Red Bull driver right next to Valtteri Bottas. But also Bottas kind of boxed in, he's got a wall to his right hand side, a Red Bull driver to his left, a Williams directly in front of him. That's Williams driver battling with the McLaren. I assume that must be Van Dorn and Sirotkin. Must be. And in fact Bottas got a run on Van Dorn, couldn't make a move. Van Dorn actually moving to the right hand side in the braking zone. So if if Bottas did try and make a move on Van Dorn, that would have been a crash. And yes, Sergei Sirotkin, once again another replay from the start. You'll understand why I've shoved in so many replays from the start. Well, you can already guess it. Singapore, of all the tracks in this championship, is the one which has the least amount of overtaking opportunities. So, really, if you remove the race start, very little happened. However, Sebastian Vettel, of course, the driver who we're all keeping an eye on, because this is the battle for the race lead. Lance Stroll versus Sebastian Vettel. This is, I was going to say a battle, but we all know who's going to come out on top. Stroll going defensive for the first corner, but Vettel just swept around the outside. Lucky not to make contact. Well, maybe it wasn't so much luck, it was more skill and judgment, but incredibly close. When Vettel turned in for the first corner, he was close to Lance Stroll. Lap 3, I'm still in 12th place. No progress made since the end of the first lap. DRS has finally been introduced, but this is a reverse grid. Well, it is a reverse grid scenario. As I said in the first episode, it's a mixed up grid. But either way, we're still in a scenario where there's someone slow at the front who's holding the field up. So everyone's got DRS. So, in fact, actually, that's atrocious. I mean, that's just how desperate I was to make an overtake. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is even getting DRS in that scenario isn't an advantage. Everyone's got it. So it's not so much having it is an advantage, it's not having it is a disadvantage. Also, I've got Lewis Hamilton to watch out for, so I'm no longer on the offensive, I'm now on the defensive. From Lewis Hamilton, really poor exit out of the first corner. And even Nico Hülkenberg is having a go. Nico Hülkenberg has re-passed me. I'm down to 14th place. It's really not been a great Grand Prix for me, but also DRS is even less effective for me because I'm running a higher downforce setup than everyone else. Because the AI, I've heard, always run 6.6 wings. It certainly makes sense. And I'm running 8.9. So I'm slower in a straight line by default. And, you know, Valtteri Bottas, he's got the setup, he's got the power, everything. He's got all the advantages in the world to get past that McLaren. He's also got the Red Bull driver trying to follow him through. But yes, it's a much rosier Grand Prix for Valtteri Bottas, even actually for the drivers who started towards the front. The Toro Rossos, you know, they're in a fantastic position of having a slow car, but driving around a track where they're starting towards the front, so it's difficult for the guys behind to overtake them. And a replay of that move from Max Verstappen's perspective. So there's Valtteri Bottas getting past Stoffel Van Dorn, and then you've got Max Verstappen, who... The door was being shut increasingly on Max Verstappen there. Luckily, no collision. If there was a collision made at that speed, at that corner, that would have been colossal. Luckily, it didn't happen. Actually, fantastic switchback move from Max Verstappen. Caught the McLaren driver napping, and that is Max Verstappen up one position. Here we go. Lance Stroll still in second place. Vettel's long gone, but Lance Stroll still in second place. And that is... Oh no, Stroll's bottled it. Lance Stroll has bottled the Grand Prix. Alonso's through. I think soon both Toro Rossos will be. Well, one of them's having a crack. And Lance Stroll, he was comfortably in second place. All he had to do was not mess up. And that is exactly what he did. It's the final lap of the Grand Prix. The final lap of the Grand Prix, Stroll has lost second place, now third. That's bad. That's really bad for Lance Stroll. I appreciate he had a lot of pressure. You know, he had a lot of drivers directly behind him, but he just had to not lock up on the brakes. Vettel, of course, Vettel wouldn't make such an incident. And Vettel, he's won the Singapore Grand Prix. I should have said Vettel wouldn't make such an accident, but either way. Fernando Alonso coming through in second place. Gifted it totally. There is no way he would have passed Lance Stroll without there being a crash or pit stops, and there can't be pit stops because it's only a 5-lap race, can't change the race distance. Without something untoward happening, Alonso, no way in hell was he going to pass Lance Stroll. So he certainly got lucky. To be fair, actually, for me, it wasn't really a case of a lack of luck. It was really a poor setup, not amazing driving, bad starting grid. 14th place, there is Sebastian Vettel, who won this Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel, correct me if I'm wrong. No, because that's Pierre Gasly on the podium, isn't it? Yes, it is. I was going to say Vettel was the first driver in this championship to finish on the podium twice. But of course, Gasly did as well. Gasly finished on the podium in the Austrian Grand Prix. Vettel finished on the podium in the Belgian Grand Prix. And there are the race results. Vettel, Alonso, Gasly, Lance Stroll down in 4th. Lucky, to be honest, not to be overtaken by Brendan Hartley. Sirotkin, Bottas, Verstappen, Van Dorn and Romain Grosjean in 10th. Charles Leclerc, yet again, another Grand Prix where he just finished outside of the points places. I mean, Leclerc has scored points, every single driver has scored points, but Leclerc consistently just seems to finish just outside the points. In the Drivers' Championship, Sebastian Vettel is leading it with one race left to go. Alonso in second, Gasly in third. Once again, it's the drivers who finished on the podium in this Grand Prix towards the front of the Drivers' Championship. I'm towards the back, so's my teammate, so's Leclerc, so's Hulkenberg. In the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari are at the top, Toro Rosso in second, McLaren in fourth. Again, it's just the teams that finished well in this Grand Prix. Haas are bottom in the Constructors' Championship. It's still close between all the teams. It is all to play for in the final round of the season around Suzuka. Now, I'm not sure how to feel about this. I mean, I love the Suzuka circuit, fantastic track, but is it wise to host the final Grand Prix in a reverse grid championship around a circuit where it's difficult to overtake? Yes, sure, not on Marina Bay levels, but this still isn't exactly the easiest circuit to overtake around. And Sebastian Vettel is the Drivers' Championship leader, but that means he'll be starting this Grand Prix from the very back of the grid. Every single driver, including Stoffel Van Dorn, is in Drivers' Championship contention. So any one of the 20 drivers could leave this Grand Prix as the Sprint Championship winner. All Stoffel Van Dorn needs to do is win the Grand Prix, because it's unlikely Vettel's going to score more than 2 points in this Grand Prix. I really don't see it happening. Hulkenberg in second, Grosjean third, Leclerc fourth, myself in fifth, once again starting alongside Perez, Verstappen, Stroll, Bottas, Sainz, Raikkonen and Hamilton. So the midfield seems to be largely populated by the top team drivers. Well, then you've got Ricciardo in 17th and Sebastian Vettel in stone dead last. So, who knows who's going to come out on top in this championship, but if it's anyone around where I'm starting, if it's anyone towards the front and they win the Grand Prix and then win the championship, it will basically prove that you want to save your race win until the last round of the season. And anyway, the lights are out and away we go. And once again, another dreadful start from myself. That has allowed Sergio Perez to pull alongside me, heading towards the first corner. Perez held up by Leclerc. Around the outside of Charles Leclerc I go, and I overtake him for 4th place. Now I've got Romain Grosjean to deal with. He's in 3rd place. Hulkenberg 2nd, Van Dorn in 1st. This no longer, for me, is a reverse grid race. This is basically just a normal race, except with us starting further up. Because Grosjean's in the same car as me. Hulkenberg in the Renault, similar pace to a Haas. Van Dorn slightly worse than a Haas, the McLaren is, but, you know, we're all in similar cars. Same can't be said for Valtteri Bottas, he's alongside a Williams. Polar opposites in terms of overall performance, and this is still very much a reverse grid race for him. So, this is where it gets tricky, because I've got to pass cars that are of a similar pace, and this is important. Every single overtake matters. Inside, heading into Spoon Corner, that is how I got past Romain Grosjean up into 3rd place. But Van Dorn, all he needs to do is win the Grand Prix and hope. Because, well, Vettel needs to score a couple of points, but Van Dorn, it looks like his championship hunt is basically over. Hulkenberg making a move around 130R, and Van Dorn, he doesn't want to give up 2nd place, but Van Dorn, there is no way he can win the championship from this position. Hulkenberg pulling away, and also Hulkenberg, I think if I were to finish in 2nd and Hulkenberg in 1st, he would win the championship. That's how close it is. All the drivers are separated by such a small amount of points, and me and Hulkenberg started in very similar grid slots, so logic would dictate that the point count between us is similar. Carlos Sainz heading up towards 130R, he's got a Williams in front of him, so this is brave stuff. Making a move heading into 130R, and he's made the move stick. That is impressive stuff from Carlos Sainz to get past Lance Stroll. Making a move which as of yet Raikkonen and Hamilton haven't. However, I do feel as if it is only a matter of time. Sergio Perez, a driver I've been able to pull away from, thanks to me passing Charles Leclerc. Now Perez is on the hunt, trying to get past Charles Leclerc. So this is, well, this again a brave move heading into 130R. Is Perez going to pull it off? No, he isn't, and he's been spun around. That is not just a failed overtake, that is race over. Or it would be if damage was on. Again, I really do wish damage was on, but then, I mean, again, he's in 20th, it's a 5-lap race, his race is all but over. He's running, but what for? What purpose? On board with Sergio Perez, inside line, heading around 130R. That's the thing. Sainz made his move stick, Perez didn't, partially because Sainz was further alongside the car he was trying to pass than Perez was, but also Perez tentative, cautious, partially backed out. You know, you have to go all or nothing. And Perez went half in, half out. That's where the mistake lies. Now, Lance Stroll. We've already seen him be overtaken by Carlos Sainz. So now Kimi Raikkonen is going to make his way past. Yes, quite comfortably. Lewis Hamilton, though, is he going to have to wait yet another lap to get past? Well, it looks like that will be the case unless he makes the move down the start-finish straight, because unless he does it there, I don't see where he's going to make the move. Because the next real overtaking opportunity would be heading into Spoon. So, Lewis Hamilton alongside Lance Stroll. That is close! Incredibly close, but Lance Stroll has been overtaken by Lewis Hamilton. And as I said, every single overtake matters. Raikkonen and Hamilton are in championship contention. They've got more points than myself, more points than Hulkenberg. But how far up do they have to finish? I don't know, but you get a lot more points for winning a Grand Prix than you do for finishing in 2nd. You get a lot more points for finishing in 2nd than you do for finishing in 4th. So every overtake really does matter. Every single point is vital. Sainz lost ground to Raikkonen and Hamilton, but The two championship rivals side by side, Ferrari versus Mercedes. This may be a sort of reverse grid championship, but you still get Ferrari versus Mercedes battles, and Raikkonen has won out on that occasion. Hamilton, I'm not sure if there was contact between himself and Raikkonen, but certainly unsettled, and that has allowed Sainz to pull alongside. And going through the S section, that's the thing, is it's difficult to really make an overtake stick, either from Sainz's perspective or Hamilton's perspective. But at the end of the S section, Hamilton inside line, Mercedes power, nothing Sainz could do. Now this is Max Verstappen behind, I believe, Charles Leclerc. Certainly that is a Alfa Romeo Sauber, and Max Verstappen can't keep up. This is tragic actually. Max Verstappen, his Renault engine really letting him down. Again, I just feel bad for him, because this is much like with the Stoffel Van Dorn situation in the French Grand Prix. This is a driver doing well through the corners where driver skill actually matters, but on the straights, look, the car he was trying to pass has just passed someone. That is, in fact, was that a McLaren? That's a McLaren that's been overtaken. This is a bad Grand Prix for Renault. I mean, actually, if it's a bad Grand Prix for Renault, it must be a really bad Grand Prix for Honda in their home race. But from what I remember, both Toro Rosso drivers were starting towards the back, so their prospects for this Grand Prix really weren't high. Now, there's a lot of drivers with a lot of different points, so it's difficult to say, but I would say to win the championship, I need to pass Nico Hülkenberg. Luckily, Hülkenberg is in first, I'm in second, I've got DRS, I've got Slipstream, I've also got a locked up front right wheel, but at the end of all of that, I have taken the race lead. Can't calm down yet, because we've still got one lap left to go. Hülkenberg can just do the same thing on me as I did on him. Now, Sergio Perez in 20th, trying to make up some ground, passing, oh no. That is the second incident in this race that Sergio Perez, I was going to say caused, I'm not sure if he caused the first one, but certainly this one was his fault. I see what he was trying to do. There was space down the inside, but you can't, especially at that high speed when you're turning sharply into a corner, you can't tag the rear end of a car, because that just unsettles it massively. And that is, yeah, Perez into Sirotkin, into Alonso. Race over for Alonso, I suppose, but when was his race really going well? I mean, he was in 19th, so, you know, it wasn't a great race for him. Anyway, myself in the race lead. This matters. This is important. And I've locked up and allowed Nico Hülkenberg to pull alongside. This isn't even the main overtaking opportunity. I was less concerned about this part of the circuit as I was the latter part of the circuit, and already I've nearly been overtaken. So, Kevin Magnussen, myself, car number 20 in first place, I believe in championship position. It's difficult to say because there's so many drivers who are all in contention. Well, everyone is in contention. And going around 130R, still no Hülkenberg. Braking for the Casio Triangle, the final chicane. Still no Nico Hülkenberg to report. He's still behind me, didn't make a move, didn't stick his front wing up there. So I have won the Japanese Grand Prix. But what does that mean for the championship? That is a race win under my belt, but that does not necessarily mean I've won a championship. We saw Raikkonen making up great headway. So was Hamilton. So it's difficult to say. Perez is certainly out of the championship. Perez, I think the guy who's been my main championship contender, he's certainly out of it. Actually, this is nice. This is a Haas double podium. There's Gunther Steiner. Elated, I would assume. Kevin Magnussen in first, Romain Grosjean in third. If you swap around Hülkenberg and Grosjean, that is a Haas 1-2. And of course, Haas entering this Grand Prix, we were bottom of the Constructors' Championship. Charles Leclerc in fourth place, Van Dorn in fifth, Verstappen, Bottas, Raikkonen, Hamilton. Hamilton with 2 crucial points, Raikkonen with 4. That could be vital. Sebastian Vettel the Drivers' Championship leader, finished in 14th. And I've won it! Kevin Magnussen in the Haas has won the Sprint Championship. Well. I'm surprised to a certain extent. Winning, I was going to say I didn't intend to win. That's not true. Obviously I tried to win, but it wasn't my goal. I just wanted to compete in the championship. Perez last in the Drivers' Championship. Rightly so. Actually no, Perez. My experiences with Perez in this championship have been... He's been hard but fair, but in this Grand Prix, certainly not so. And in the Constructors' Championship, would you look at that? Haas have won it. We entered this Grand Prix bottom of the Constructors' Championship and we've left it in first. 10th to first in one Grand Prix. That is unbelievable. Genuinely, that is borderline implausible. No one would believe you if you said that to them. But yes, in one Grand Prix, Haas went from 10th to first. I won the Grand Prix and of course Romain Grosjean in third. So it was a great points haul for the Haas team, who beat Ferrari, the team Haas are a customer to. Ferrari second in the Constructors' Championship. Then it's Renault, McLaren, Red Bull, Sauber, Mercedes, Toro Rosso, Williams finished in second to last, and Force India last in the Constructors' Championship. Let's flash back up the Drivers' Championship standings because I didn't really get to talk through it properly. So I won, Sebastian Vettel in second, Hulkenberg in third, my teammate Romain Grosjean in fourth. Both myself and Grosjean entered this Grand Prix towards the back of the Drivers' Championship, yet we end it towards the front. Same could be said for Charles Leclerc, who's fifth in this Sprint Championship, Drivers' Championship. That's a bit of a mouthful, but anyway, behind Leclerc it's Alonso, Bottas, actually Bottas rightly so. He's been consistently reasonably good in this championship. He's always been there or thereabouts, moving up places, scoring decent points. He's ahead of Verstappen, Gasly, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Van Dorn, Hamilton. We're getting down to drivers who even won Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon even. And of course, towards the bottom, you've got Sirotkin, Ericsson, Sainz, Hartley, Lance Stroll, and as mentioned earlier, Sergio Perez is in last. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and this mini-series on F1 2018 on the Sprint Championship. This will not be the last time in which I go through a reverse grid championship on this game. I plan to do another one later on down the line, so I hope you guys are looking forward to that. I certainly am. And I'll see you guys in my next video on F1 2018, which I promise won't have a reversed grid. So I'll see you guys in my next video.